Hey guys, welcome back to the Bad Dating Podcast. I'm your host, Michael James. Are you having bad sex? Let's talk about it. Before we begin, please take the time to follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram under Bad Dating Podcasts. Please like, comment, subscribe. We're really trying to push the Facebook numbers and the YouTube numbers and the Instagram numbers up. So the more you can comment and also subscribe, the better it'll help the channel grow. So, are you having bad sex? Let's talk about it. So, what goes into having bad sex? There's a lot of things, a lot of things, but we're going to cover some of the main topics. So, are you having bad sex? How would you even know? So, here's a problem. Unfortunately, lack of communication is the big indicator for bad sex. Sometimes you don't know if you're having it, your partner doesn't know, and then times we won't necessarily tell our partner. And this is where bad sex proliferates. You need to be able to talk with your partner, find out what they like. Sometimes, and that's the thing, is a lot of people aren't comfortable with being able to have that sort of open communication with the person that they're seeing. Even if it's even if it's just for a night, even just for a hit and run, you need to be able to be comfortable talking to the person that you're going to be engaged with activities. And unfortunately, communication just isn't there. And that can come from a lot of reasons. Sometimes people are inexperienced, and inexperience is going to be one of them, but you are new to the game. And when you're unaware of what you're feeling, what you're thinking, it may be difficult to communicate that to the person you're seeing. And then if maybe they're doing something right and you don't know necessarily how to tell them, or maybe they're doing something very wrong and you don't know how to tell them. And so that's just playing into the communication aspect, where it's just like, hey, to just be able to say, and in a way that people will be okay with, because that's the thing, is sometimes people are very direct in their communication style, especially in a regular situation. So like, I'm very direct in a normal situation, but then when there's something that may offend, upset, hurt, or whatever in those sort of delicate matters, you can't necessarily be as direct with the point, just because that may put the person off. So to fix communication, you need to try to work through it and talk about it. And sometimes in the moment is not the best time. That is where people can be vulnerable, and that's where emotions can run high. So before you even get into that, having a conversation, or if you don't even know how to broach the conversation, because again, that's going to play into inexperience, which is the next aspect of why people are having bad sex. But for communication, if you don't know necessarily how to start the topic and how to broach it, what you can do is the time-tested solution of using porn. Not everyone watches it, but sometimes people do watch it, and especially a lot of people watch it. Men, women, it doesn't matter. And when you find out what they watch, you say like, hey, let's watch. It can be something fun. Hey, let's watch something. Get your partner to put it on. Like, hey, find out, what do you like? Because that's going to be so insightful. You may have been with someone just starting off, or been with them for a while, and then when you watch what they like, you're going to be like, oh, I don't do that at all. And that's okay. That's the point of improving communication, is to try to improve and try to figure out what this person likes. And maybe you don't have the courage to say, hey, what do you like? Because again, they may just straight up, maybe the other person doesn't have the courage to say, but if you put on something, or they put on something, that this is what I like, and you're just thinking about like, okay, I don't do this, I don't do that, I don't do this, or maybe you do all those things, and they're just like, wow. And that is from the direct communication. You also need to be able to try to listen for indirect communication. So that's actually listening to your partner's body. And that's one of those things that it takes practice. I mean, when you notice your partner's breath, and their heart rate speeding up, and their pulse, and their body reactions to what you're doing, that can be a great communication tool to like, oh, yep, they were like this, and then I touched here, and now they're up here because of their breathing, their sounds, everything that's going on with them. And that can be a good indicator. So yes, that can be a lot of work to kind of figure out what you like, and you may start trying to figure it out, but then be a little bit lost, or you may be on the wrong side of what they like just because, hey, truthfully, a lot of people, bad sex comes from maybe it was great sex with your ex or the first person or the last person you were with, and that's what you learned and you took, and then you moved on. Unfortunately, you had to like move forward and find someone new, and then you're in a new dating situation, and you're going to default to doing what you did with the last person. And that may have been a number one with that last person, and with this new person, that is not what they like at all. Last person may have liked slow and sensual, and this person may like hard and fast. And that goes the same for guys and girls. It doesn't really matter. You're going to have people say like, oh, I like this, I like that. You won't know if what your partner likes if you don't either directly find out or indirectly learn. Because again, people's body has automatic reactions and reactions that they mean, which aren't what I'm talking about. These may be the reactions that like happen that like, oh, hey, their breathing changed. It became like shallower, and they started moving about, or they started moaning, the noise, all these little things can go into that. And so these are like hey, everyone breathes. If you're alive, you breathe. But what can impact your breathing and your heart rate can be that excitement, can be that like, okay, cool. And you can tell when someone's hyper focused, when it's just like the shallower breathing, and and you have to be very present. And that can be hard to do. So that's why we're going moving from communicating and what you can do to try to fix that, from watching porn with someone to actually having the conversation, to just inexperience. Inexperience can form a lot of miscommunication, a lot of issues, but it's just real fact. I mean, you may have been that person who found the love of their life, and that was the first person they had sex with, and you date and you get married, and you guys were together 15 years, and then unfortunately things didn't work out, and now you're back in the market, and you have that one person that you learned, but they may have been plain Jane simple, and then you're coming back in the dating world, and then cut to, oh wow, might be a little bit inexperienced in terms of being open to trying things, figuring things out, or just being able to understand like what is bad sex and what can contribute to it. So you can't really do too much to make up for inexperience. I mean, yes, I mean there are some basics you can do, but that's not necessarily should be the goal. And some people, that's going to put people off. If you're just trying to get out there and get your numbers up, I mean, you can see these people on TikTok who, cool, the girl who slept with one guy a day, every day for a year. And there's been a couple, and just like, that's not, some guys will have no problem with that. That's not me. Of like, the girl who's just like out running the streets. I mean, for me as a guy, I'm not out running the streets, so I don't want to see the person, oh yeah, she's pretty, but like, she's a new dude a day, or a couple. So like, you don't want to try to necessarily fix inexperience. So that's why you might just need to rely on communication and just being able to talk to people, because hey, you may be seeing someone who you're inexperienced and they may be more experienced than you. Because if you have one person under your belt and they have two, they have twice as much of his experience than you. It doesn't mean it's good experience, but it is more experience. So you just need to be willing to like understand and work to overcome that. Again, that's why communication is key and can help improve things. So why is there also bad sex besides lack of communication and inexperience? First, mismatch expectations, also stemming from bad experience. So I'm just making sure to look at my list so I can make sure to cover everything I want. So mismatch expectations can kind of play into bad communication, but also some people just maybe they communicate afterwards, but because maybe of their experiences, they're expecting things to go one way. I mean, you may date someone, guys, you may have dated someone who's a pillow princess, and that's not what you're used to. You want a animal in the sack, and you get someone who just lays there like a fish. Women, you may want someone who will take you like Conan the Barbarian, and you're dating the guy who a 5 minute stand who give you 5 minutes and that's it. So is that unrealistic expectations? It's not. It's just mismatched expectations because you didn't know what they were going to, what they're bringing to the table, and they didn't know what you're bringing to the table. And you may be going in like, okay, well, my ex, and this is how things were going, and so like, cool, this is what I can take. Personally, I know that some people have way high expectations just because they themselves are difficult and they thought that that was normal and no one said anything. Guys, touching back on the bad communication aspect of this, a lot of guys won't necessarily tell a woman if she's bad at sex. In fact, this is the time where I'll say guys will gaslight. We may say someone that they're really good and just like they're not. But we'll say that because it's kind of expectation, and then also you want to encourage more activity versus discourage activity. So by saying, "Oh, that was really good," and you're giving those sorts of positive feedback, then they may walk in like a rock star thinking like, "I got this," and more happens, but the more is mid, and that happens a lot. Unfortunately, I can see I've been there where it's just like, hey, the person's doing their best with whatever they're doing, and it's just like, okay, cool, and this will take a while. And I'm not going to tell them because it's just like, why? Especially some people put a lot of stock on like, I need to cut, for women specifically, we'll say like, I need to come every time and then whatever. And it's like, okay, cool, that's going to create certain high expectations and put a lot of, which is the next thing is stress and anxiety. It can be stressful. For me, I used to be a big guy. So I was 300 pounds. So like for my mind, that is still very much who I am. So like I always tell people like I try to kill it. Like I am performing at the Apollo. You want to crush so that way you get invited back. So that's how I go about things in my head. Other people don't have that sort of competitive mindset where it's like I'm trying to go at it. Other people are just like, hey, cool. It's fine, or whatever happens is fine, and you don't know who you're dealing with. Some women are just like, hey, I just want someone who's there and they'll enjoy it no matter what. Other women are like, hey, if you're not doing the correct launch sequence, like the NASA mission, like, all right, cool. It takes 162 different switches and dials to launch a rocket into space, and if you're not doing it just right, it's not going to work. And some women are just like that. And I'm sure some guys I don't know, are like that as well. Or they have specific things that they like. So you kind of just need to be aware, and that can cause stress and anxiety. Again, if I was sitting and you let me sit in front of, I've seen the cockpits for jumbo jets, and that's intimidating. It's like, oh man, that's a lot of buttons. That's a lot of ooh, I don't know if I could do this. That is what some people can feel like when it comes to that first time and second time, or if they knew they had a bad performance and they're trying to like get themselves back into it. You may put someone in a more stressful situation just because sometimes how you respond or how you talk to someone, that can add more stress. Like, hey, it wasn't great. And so what you may say is, well, what happened? And that little what happened, you may think it's caring, and the other person may be having a near panic attack because it's just like, oh my God, I've never heard this. And then you cause issues because it can demonstrate a lack of understanding, and it's kind of sound like a little bit of a blaming the other person. So what you might want to do is, again, this, if you're not going to watch porn together or kind of find out what someone likes, if you're going to have that direct conversation, just be like, hey, so you don't say what happened because that's pointing the finger. It's like, well, hey, what can I do to help? That sounds way different. To help, you want to lower the anxiety and lower the stress. Just because, again, you don't know if this may be the person of your dreams and you're just so excited. And then, oh, especially guys, if you're so excited, relax, slow down. Don't drink, because that's going to be another thing too. That will be one of the last things that we talk about is health and wellness. You want to be able to relax. And so you don't know if you're putting internal pressure and stress on yourself to perform. Ladies, you guys do this too. Or is it external pressure where the other person's maybe like poking you a little too hard mentally when it comes to like, hey, well, I like this, I want this, or what happened, or, oh, but I need this. And then you're backing you into a corner. So that's why it's, again, going back to having good communication, being able to talk and diffuse and being able to laugh and find the commonalities. First off, it is great when you are with someone and it just works out well. And for me, I'm just like, oh, I'm sweaty, passionate, and tired. They're sweaty, passionate, and tired. And we're both good. Whew. Best feeling in the world. But that's not everybody in terms of what they want, what they like, and how the situation goes. So it's just being willing to figure things out and then just try to not get stressed out and not add stress to the other person's situation just because, again, for guys, once you learn that you're not a machine, that plays into things. So like, again, go in there, relax, cool, calm, and collected. Like, hey, I've done this before. The person's into me. If you can take a second and breathe, things will go a lot better. And then that's one of the things too, is in the situation, making sure you're breathing. Trust me, it sounds funny, but sometimes people don't do some of the basic things and then they wonder why they have problems. It's just like, all right, cool. Yeah, if you have a beautiful woman or like, you may need to relax, because if you don't, you may be a 5-minute stand unintentionally just because you didn't relax and got so amped up because, oh my God, look at her, she's so beautiful, I can't believe this is happening. And you're too in your head and you're not trying to relax, and then your body's just going to go peak and you'll be in trouble. So I know it's harder than it sounds, but it's just trying to make sure to relax and take it one step at a time. So going into the physical and emotional health and wellness, it sounds funny, but stick with me. The reason why you want to be able to keep that in balance is because, guys, when I said you're not a machine, because yes, when you were a teenager, you'd get erections at the drop of a hat, whatever, slightest breeze. Like when even in your 20s, you need to learn that, like, hey, your sleep, your nutrition, and your activity level all play a factor into your performance. So guess what? The better you can do at taking care of yourself in different aspects, the better your performance is going to be. Women, yes, if a guy says, it's always the joke, hey, make sure you stretch beforehand. It's like, yeah, because guess what? When things get tight or you're not as stretched and loose and limber or capable, like that can cause problems for you guys as well, especially if it's going to be something that you're passionate for and going to be doing regularly. Why would you not want to be in the better shape to be able to perform well? Like, yes, walk in feeling like a rock star, leave feeling like a rock star with the other person saying you're a rock star. And that you only do that by, again, taking the time to, like, hey, how's your sleep? For me, I definitely know that I used to stay up till like midnight, get like, midnight, 1 a.m., go to bed for like 3 or 4 hours, and then get up, start my day, and like, cool, that's fine, and then just go hard on a regular basis. And yeah, you can kind of do that, but if that for a little while, and your body will be fine. It's like, hey, if something happens the next night, you meet someone, something happens, hey, you may not have a problem. But these are little things that's something that's like starts to drain at your, let's say your body has a battery. Cool. Well, just like your cell phone. Lack of sleep. Cool. You didn't recharge your phone. Depending on how much you use it, yeah, it may not be a problem. was like, okay, cool. I didn't charge it last night, but I was at 80% yesterday. I'm at 70% today. It's fine. And I'm not planning on using my phone that much or using your libido, your energy, and everything else like that. Hey, it may not be a problem. But then let's talk about your nutrition. Hey, are you eating a bunch of junk food? Are you overweight? Or do you have some sort of medical complication which can negatively impact your body and your body's ability for homeostasis? I mean, that is what, unfortunately, alcohol can do. Alcohol or drugs. If you're taking something, that can negatively impact what your body's doing on the internals. And so, guess what? Yeah, there's a reason why there's a thing called whiskey dick. It's because guys will get too drunk and then their dick will not work right and it will be not a pleasant experience, not the greatest experience. And some girls, if they're been drinking too, they're up for it and it's not a problem. But like I said, for me, I'm coming in there, no pun intended. I'm going in with the idea that I want to give my best. I want to crush it. I want to get invited back. Like this, I want this to be mine. I want this to be like, oh my God, this is the best I ever had. So yeah, cool. Having one drink probably is not going to do anything, especially depending on your tolerance and how your nutrition for the day is going. One drink's not going to be a problem. But again, some guys don't know. Maybe it's 2 drinks. Maybe it's 3 drinks. Maybe you're drinking so much that on such a consistent basis that you are lowering your natural body's battery to like, hey, instead of it ever getting up to 100% charge, you're always just kind of walk around at 50%. And then there's other things that impact health and your emotional and just physical well-being. So if you're already at 50% because you've been drinking, and then factor in, well, how much sleep have you been getting? So you didn't recharge your battery. You're doing something which drains it because alcohol is a depressant. It lowers your body. And guess what? When you're trying to get excited for performance, having stuff in your body that lowers your ability to perform, probably not great. I'm just saying. But then you want to think about this. So again, your nutrition. Because again, if you're overweight, or if you're eating food that is also causing your body to have to do a lot of work to break down. I mean, like sometimes when you start eating greasy food again, you can kind of get like the meat sweats where it's just like, oh, you can kind of feel it coming out of your pores the next day. Or if you've had too much candy, had too much sweets, or overstuffed yourself, like you're putting a strain on your body. And it's not like it's some huge like, oh my God, this is critical and this is devastating. But again, take that battery that I keep talking about, your battery, 70%, because you didn't charge yourself with good rest, and you're getting less than 6 hours of sleep. Because really, 8 hours, not everyone's going to hit that. Some people will hit 10, or maybe your sleep's bad. Maybe you have sleep apnea. Look into that. That can be something that ruins your sleep because it causes you to snore. Or not everyone necessarily snores, but if you're overweight or you're predisposed, like that can be a thing that you don't know that it's negatively impacting your ability to perform. So you just may be out there just serving bad sex. And women get sleep apnea too, but it's a little bit easier for women to get away with bad sex, or not necessarily having it being bad, but just not having it being great. So I'm just talking to some of the guys right now. Do you have sleep apnea? Are you known to snore? Are you a back sleeper? Are you larger? Do you have any sort of genetic predisposition? If you do, go see your doctor, because that's what they can help you for. Because why would you even want that? Because again, if you're not breathing at portions of the night and then you're waking up tired, so instead of charging your battery and drinking and doing all these other things, you may be walking around at 25%. And that's starting the day. And then cut to later in the evening when you were drinking more, or you just took the girl out, took whoever you were out, and then you guys have been eating and you're already tired, and then you're doing all these things that just like lower your ability to perform. Yeah. And that's when you want to have sex with someone? oh my God, like you're asking to serve some bad sex, and I don't know why you'd want to do that. Like I realize this too is like, just in a personal note, why would you want to have sex at the end of the night? So like midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., when you're already kind of tired, when there's already a lot more going on, is like, especially when I had a girlfriend, I'd rather have just sex at like, cool, hey, we have a date night. We're doing something at 6 o'clock. I'd rather blow her back out at 5 o'clock and then go do dinner and then relax and then still may have sex again versus like, why would I don't know. I don't want to wait till I'm tired, stuffed, and it's the end of the night before I'm trying to bring my A game. I'd rather like, no, you got it at the best time versus why would you wait till it's overtime to try to do your best? But that's neither here nor there. So emotional stuff too is a big deal. If you're walking around with stress does things to your body. I mean, if stress can cause your hair to fall out, what do you think it's going to do to the rest of you? And this part isn't even just for guys. Women, you will walk around with very little sleep, saying like, oh, I can operate this, trying to worry about so much, be very stressed, and then it's can impact performance, especially if you're having difficulty achieving success. Again, reaching that orgasm. Like, there's so many things that can go into it. And from going back to the topic of, hey, maybe you're trying to communicate with your partner and watching porn. So what can happen too is a lot of women will over fixate on one solution to reaching success and kind of just lock in, and that kind of sabotages their ability to reach that if it's by anything else. Like if in your head you're just saying like, all right, almost there, I just need this, and you're actively thinking, and then someone does something even a little off and that shuts you down mentally, yeah, like you may cause bad sex to happen just because your mind was too busy. You were a little less present. And that's, guys, or whoever you're seeing, you want to make sure you can take the person out of their mental space, catch them by surprise, because that will make your job easier. You can have really good sex if the person is there mentally, physically, at their best, and then you pull them out of their loop of, the control loop, where it is just, I'm just doing the things I like, or this is what I like, and whatever, and you can catch someone by surprise. The dam opens up, all right, is the best way to say that. If you can do that right. And it's not easy. So this is why you want to make sure you can take the opportunity to have good sex. Figure out if you're having bad sex. Figure out if your partner is having bad sex. Talk about it. Again, it doesn't necessarily need to be in a relationship. This could just be something that like you have a friends with benefit. This is your first time with someone, is a little bit tough, but that may be what leads you into intimacy, where it's just like, oh, we talked about this, we connected, we understood what each other's needs and wants were, and then there was more playfulness, there was more flirting, and things were able to progress and build and get to the point where you guys are knocking boots. You guys are just hit and run, smashing, doesn't matter, hawk tua, it doesn't matter. But you guys need to be able to communicate and kind of figure this out. And so that's why it's like you have to do a lot to try to avoid having bad sex, because you don't want to be having bad sex. Guys, if you are out there serving mediocre D, you don't want to be known for that. Trust me, out of everything, like when you're younger, that may be the insult, but that doesn't happen as an adult. But why would you want to serve mediocre D? Just think about this. You are a restaurant. You want, when you have a customer, to do your best so that if someone was going to talk about it, if someone was going to get in front of a mic and talk about the best burgers in town, you want to be named up there. Why? At least for me, pride, ego, like the fact that I was bigger. So there's the insecurities of like, man, I need to work harder. And guess what? When you work hard and you do a good job, no one really has a problem. It's like, oh, you did good work. There's no complaints when you do good work. So why would you not care? Yes, a lot of people are selfish. They don't think about it, or they've never had this sort of conversation or the thought process of like, what can I do to improve? And that leaves room for improvement. Even if you're doing well, why would you not want to get better? I mean, yeah, ladies, you might knock your man's socks off. And you may still ask him, like I had that with an ex where she was always trying to ask me some of the things, but it's just like I wasn't necessarily comfortable because she wasn't necessarily doing everything that I liked, but I'm not trying to make her feel any sort of way and insecure. So it's just like trying to work with and trying to get that on a better level through other means. And so if you know that, if that can be a possibility, because guys can tell you, it's like, yeah, they didn't necessarily say like, yeah, it was bad, or it was mid, or hey, she just kind of like laid there. That was a little boring. Like we don't necessarily say all that. And it's true. I don't know. Some girls may say all that. Some girls may say none of that. But really just for good relationships or good dating, good sex, just good pounding it out, you guys need to try to see what you can do to improve and get better. So that's been this episode of the Bad Dating Podcast. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to make it through to the end. Again, please, if you have any experiences, please let me know on YouTube in the comments of what your experiences have been. Has someone been interested in trying to get better? Did they know they were good, or did they know they were bad? And did you ever avoid telling someone that they were bad just because you didn't want to hurt their feelings? I want to know. So please take the time, leave it in the comments. And that will be it for today's episode. I want to thank you guys for joining us once again, and try to date better.